calling the roll.
Wade Permenter,
Here.
Scott Curtis, Adrian Henley,
Here.
Brenda Miller, here, Randy Cox, Rob Rodell,
Here.
Mike Chandler, Steve Gladden.
Here.
Would one of the aldermen like to give the invocation?
I'll do it.
All right. Everyone stand. Okay, and again, this is a special meeting, so we have to stick to the agenda as it was set. So we'll open it up. If there are any public comments, you can come forward at this time. No one? And, yes. Okay. Just state your name and your residence.
My name is Joe Bird. I live at 3616 in Drive in Bryant. I'm going to start this off by saying that I'm not even sure that the information I have here is accurate. And I really think that might be part of our problem. As you may know, I'm a member of the Recreation Committee. And I wanted to explain some things and then offer an opportunity to answer any questions. I've got this prepared because I did better if I write it out and try to do it off the cuff. After the Recreation Committee agenda items were discussed, and at the point of adjournment Monday night, as we were almost about ready to leave, one of our members addressed the committee and informed that there was that the bond initiative tax recently voted on to improve Boone Road and to benefit certain designated sports associations and clubs was being brought back up as a standalone bond initiative. We were told that there would be a special council meeting in 3 days to vote on the issue. And although it is true that this has been voted on and approved in the past, it was done in the context of a package deal with Boone Road improvements. We were also told that if this new initiative passed, Boone Road improvements could not be voted on again for 10 years. And the thought of it having to live with the road as it is for 2 more years was scary. Some of the sentiments discussed were as follows. In the case of Boone Road improvement, it would provide connectivity to Bishop Park. It would include a wide walking trail that would extend the proposed trail starting at Mills Park from the Bryant High School to Bishop Park. That would be a recreational asset for cyclists, runners, walkers, as well as a road asset. The new trail proposal was on the Parks Committee agenda and was discussed that night. The concerns were concerns of priority, concerns of planning, concerns of safety, concerns about the seemingly rushed nature of this and the lack of public notice were also discussed. After considerable discussion on these issues, a vote was encouraged by our council liaison to express these concerns to the city council. The vote should not be interpreted as a vote against team sports or associations that partner with the Parks Department. The committee is not against what is trying to be done. We just have broader visions and would like to see these needs met, but not at the expense of safety and the greater good. So, having said that, if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer any concerns.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the vote taken by the Parks Committee Monday night?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know if I'm sure. The vote concerned more confusion and lack of understanding about what was being done. And it's my understanding the vote was to take our concerns to the council and express what they are.
So putting this on the ballot did not go through the Parks Committee first this time? Is that what
No, it
you're
did not.
saying?
It did not.
Okay.
As far as I understand, Derek Searing can answer that. This was the second thought after the meeting was over. It was not on the agenda. And this did not come before the Parks Committee this time around. And the change is, originally, the park committee did vote for this, but it was in the context of a package deal with the road improvements, which also benefits the parks, in our opinion, because it makes it safer and has better connectivity.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Hurd.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments at this time?
I need to speak now.
Yeah.
Mr. Glenn, come up.
Thank y'all. In response to the Parks Committee meeting Monday night, and I'm Steve Glenn, presently live in Hot Springs. I'm on the board of the Bryant Athletic Association, which represents baseball and football here. I'm also chairman of the committee where we formed Bryant People for Parks, made up of the various associations that participate over at the park. But anyways, let me start by addressing what my response to the park vote Monday night was. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't at that meeting. Bob Joyner contacted me on Tuesday morning. I heard the night before that it had got voted 7-0 against parks is the way that it came down to me. But anyways, Bob sent me an email, and I'd like to read this into the record for the public. I copied all the council earlier today. But Bob sent me an email on Tuesday morning that said, I hope you're doing well. And Bob Joyner is on the Parks Committee. I wanted to reach out and follow up on some information we received last night at the end of our monthly committee meeting for Bryant Parks and Recreation. One of the committee members shared that they had been informed of a meeting between several, perhaps all of the associations that also comprise Bryant People for Parks to discuss the possibility of putting a parks bond issue on the ballot for November. From the feedback given last night, there was support from some association representatives, while others did not think it best to move forward at this time. The consensus of the committee was with the latter group, based primarily, in my opinion, on the desire to know more about any bond proposal that may go forward. From what I understand, this is a time-sensitive decision that must be acted upon this week if it's going to be added to the ballot. And so I responded to Bob and told him to call me. And then I sent an email to him summarizing things. And I said, Bob, it's always good to talk to you, and thanks for your email. First, I want to apologize to you and the other members of the Parks Committee for not keeping you in the loop about recent developments with the various associations in the park issues. It certainly was not an attempt to circumvent, slight, or withhold information. I hope my previous disclosures and discussions with the Parks Committee over the past months have shown that we respect the committee and welcome their approvals and opinions. In hindsight, I should have kept you abreast of the most recent events. However, with time running out and with some differing opinions within our associations in regard to the timing of when to put the issues on the ballot and the fact that we were not changing anything from prior committee approval, I was thinking about my request to the council about a special council meeting to discuss all the issues. And then I listed what I consider to be the facts. One, all of the associations were unanimous that the ballot should be parks only. Two, the ballot would be two questions regarding parks only. Three, the amount in park projects would be those described on the May ballot and agreed upon by the Parks Committee, Council, and associations. Four, our associations were split whether to place the issues on the November ballot or a special election in the future. Five, without the issues being placed on the November ballot or a special election, the next opportunity to be on the ballot would be May 2016. And here were the differing opinions within our association. One, those that were for a special election thought it would avoid a loss in November, therefore eliminating the possibility of two losses on the issue. Concerned there is and will be a negative atmosphere leading up to November election, thereby increasing the chances of losing. On the other hand, two, the ones that were for the November general election, how could the results be different from the May election? Our associations did not get the vote out. We felt like did not get the vote out, and the May election may have been a wake-up call. public was not clear about the 4 questions. You can tell that by the vote results, by the way. So parks only and reducing the ballot question to 2 questions will make it much clearer and a much smaller bond issue. 70 days to run a much different campaign. The uncertainty with a changing council and whether they would be willing to approve the cost of a special election. The fact we lost in May has not changed the needs, and pushing it into the future could run up project costs, period. Then I added, again, I'm glad you contacted me. Feel free to share this, and please express my apology to the Parks Committee. I welcome any input or question. As I understand it, there's a special council meeting at 6 p.m. this Thursday, which hopefully members of the Parks Committee can attend. Regardless of how this turns out, I respect and appreciate everyone's willingness to serve our community. Additionally, whether the park issues are placed on the ballot in November or sometime in the future, I have no doubt they will have the full support of our associations. So, trying to correct the record, so to speak, with the Parks Committee, because even, I guess, in some of the press release, they said they didn't have the information that they needed, and that's because I didn't get it to them. But thinking that the park question, and I'll be honest with you, there was not the emphasis in my meetings with park committees prior to about the streets, okay? It was about the park improvements, and what we're going to be doing here and what we're going to do over at Mills Park. Yes, Boone Road was part of the discussion, but I didn't, in hindsight, as I said in my email, I probably should have went there Monday night and explained. But still, bottom line is that the need still exists. This park, the bond issue originally was for parks. This last year, as we attempted to add the streets to it, the end result was it got beat. Now, streets may have got 70 more votes than parks, but the whole issue lost. So what do? Do it all over again? Same thing? Why don't we change it? Why don't we do something different? Why don't we use the bond money for what it's intended for, which is parks? So we come back, we're asking you to put it on the ballot, let the voters decide whether they want to spend this $6.5 million to do the parks or not. And obviously we'll accept their vote and we'll honor their vote. But we think, some of us think, that we can run a much better campaign in these 70 days than we did in the spring. If y'all recall, we were running up against the clock somewhat from the time y'all approved it. We were trying to get some financials straight and all this and that. And so there wasn't a whole lot of time. We ran a social media type of campaign in the spring. Some had some success. I think you have to do that nowadays. But hindsight, we should have put some leather to the street, should have pressed some flash, should have got that out there. You know, we had some things where people said, well, what if I'm for the parks and I'm against the streets? Well, if you're for the parks, you need to vote yes for 1, 2, and 4. If you're not, then vote, and it was confusing to everybody. On our website, we said vote yes on all 4, because we felt like Boone Road would be good. But in hindsight, evidently it wasn't. And I don't think anyone knows what the voters will do in November. I would have never guessed that streets would have got 70 votes more than parks in the spring. All I was hearing from some folks, the streets are going to pull you down, pull you down, pull you down. But we still felt like Boone Road would be, and we still feel like Boone Road would be a good addition. In skinnying this down, here's something else you need to keep in mind. One, it will stay within the original redemption dates, well within them, paying off, that we originally told the public in 7 and 8. It'll be well within the 2031 when it pays off. So that's a plus too. It's all for parks. Run a better campaign. Let the people vote. That's my take on any point.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Are there any questions?
Mr. Glenn, I know when this whole thing started, the council was trying to figure out a way to finance some improvements on Boone Road. That's when we started looking at that bond, and then I believe the Parks group found out about it, and that's when y'all came in. But the original thought was brought up to fix the road. I remember that y'all were in support of the road. You sat here and vowed to us, this council, that you were for the road, and that you would support it with your people. 5 days before the election, some of your people went on Facebook and was telling people to vote for the parks but not the road. You remember I called you on
Yes.
it, and I was a little bit upset about it because I don't feel that it was fair to do that after you've pledged your support to this council. So I believe we've kind of confused people there, especially the people that wanted both. They were confused, and of course the whole thing was confusing. We've got, for the issue, number one, there was 1,087, 44%. The issue against was 1,375, which is 55%. And then for the vote 1 and 2 to get it on the ballot was 38% and 61% for against. The Boone Road issue got 48.52%, and against was 51%, but the parks only got 45%. So the road did get more votes than it did. The issue still stands that we have to do something about that road. You can build the nicest park you want to build, but the issue is we're bringing more and more traffic on a road that's a hazard, that's a safety hazard to our citizens and to the people that's coming to that park. So those need to be addressed.
In answer to your concern there about us supporting the road part of the Boone Road, you're exactly right. When we came in the spring, we agreed, in the fall, I'm sorry, we agreed as a group, as associations, that we would support the process whereby the parks would approve the parks improvements, the council would approve that Boone Road would be corrected first, and we would work for the passage thereof. You're exactly right. I can't say that every member of our association was as much for the roads as I was. Okay? And I know exactly, and I think I told you.
Took your word for it.
I told you that at the time.
Mr. Glenn, how many members are there of that association, roughly?
All of them?
Yeah.
Or just ours?
Just all of them?
3,000 or so. And then, you got 3,000 estimated, then each one of those has two parents. A lot of them aren't citizens of Bryant, so there's not that many votes. But in your description of the voting, that shows that it was total confusion.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't do a good enough job of explaining it, getting it out there. Like I said, we were on a little bit of a short string. We had to build a website. We did a lot of things. I'm not making any excuses because, quite frankly, I feel like if our associations had done their job and got their vote out, that it would have passed. I think that the May deal, as I said in my email here, is a wake-up call for these associations. They've still got a need, and unless this is put on the ballot and passes, that need's still there. There's no assurance that it'll be done in a special election. Who knows when? I don't know. The next time I'd have an opportunity to go on a primary is May of 2016. Is that correct? I mean, there's no vote, no elections in 15. So you've got a situation where if it were to pass in 16, you're 17 or 18 before you get these improvements done. The Boone Road needs to be addressed. I just don't know that it can be done. I can tell you this, all of our associations now, not then, but now, since we got beat, their deal was that we proceed forward with the parks only.
When is the, I'm sorry, Mr. Glenn, finance? Joy? Do you know when the current Bryant, when's the current bond due to sundown, and what projection is it on to sundown? Sorry to shoot that at you.
Can you come out?
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Boat series.
Can you come up to the mic? I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Make
Steve.
sure you get in the recording.
Steve, were you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah, unless you got some more questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
And Paul Phillips with Cruise and Associates.
Thank you so much for coming.
Going back, and sure glad to be here. I may be a little bit less prepared than ordinary because I come from another business trip to get here. But I did have someone in my office look at that today, 2020, if no growth in the tax, and we don't do one thing here except continue to pay the debt and prepay the debt 2020.
The way we're currently paying it back,
Correct,
that's the time frame.
correct.
And it was projected.
If you do nothing,
It was
2020,
projected to be,
at a final maturity of 2031.
so it's matured.
Because
So
at the
the
time the
years
debt,
past
due to
at the time the transaction was put together, the tax generated roughly $1.3 million, a little bit more than that, now it's $1.9 million. So it's prepaying faster.
So we're paying off the mortgage faster, basically.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Phillips?
I reserve the right to
Do
recall.
we have, more public comments? Okay, come on, sir.
Evening.
Good evening. State your name.
My name's Dee Pfizer. Known all these folks a long time. I've known Steve since when we both had full head of hair. So we've been around Bryant a while, but, you know, as you get older, you get a little more philosophical. I've begun to believe that your strength is also your weakness. Your strength is you built a darn nice little city. And a lot of folks want to live here because you got safe neighborhoods and good schools and been written up in magazines, and I'm proud of you. Overall, you've done a good job. Congratulations. Your weakness is you've done a good job. You built a good city. You got safe neighborhoods. You got good schools. Now, what I mean by that is managing that is really important. And there again, like the first gentleman that spoke, I may not have good information. But because you have overall done a good job, I worry for you if you pass something, like, I think your first idea was really good, tying it together, because your hands, as our elected leaders, should not be tied. In my opinion, I remember Governor Beebe went out when we needed our roads improved, and he went on TV and he said real simple, your taxes are not gonna go up. I wanna redo your bonds, and I wanna fix your roads. Just that plain and simple. Well, even a country boy like me understood that, and I voted for it, and it passed. I think your original idea is still very good. I just think you didn't sell it well. My only fear for you as our leaders, as much as we need the parks with our growth, because you messed around and built a nice city that people want to live in, is if you do tie your hands, and I was told it would tie your hands for 10 years, I worry for you as our leaders. If I were you, I would never back that, because as the people who we elect to lead us, you need to have the latitude to come to us and say, we want to take care of you. We're not going to increase your taxes. We just want to redo what's there. I think that's the key selling point. And I hate to see this thing postponed. But whether you decide to run for re-election or the next folks behind you, I would urge you, don't tie your own hands. You folks deserve the latitude to make those judgment calls. That's why you're here, to lead us. So I would almost encourage you to go back and rethink your presentation, but you're right, you deserve the latitude to make the decisions as our leaders that we need the roads to get to the parks. And my only fear for you, I remember one of our local philosophers, Lance Penfield, told me one time, it's not a problem until it's a problem. And I'm only urging you, don't create your own problem here. You know, if this is not a good idea for you as our leaders, as much as I'd love to see the parks, because my grandchildren play in them, I would simply back away and take a deep breath and say, do we need to rewrite this? Come back when you can. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Is there any other public comments?
Am I allowed to comment again?
After Mr. Irvin?
What's your customers?
Some people say they've never seen any jeans, and that's
You
not
look
like.
very nice. You
Yeah,
look very
good,
nice.
thank you.
Very nice.
Clean up well. Hi, I'm Jim Irwin, resident of Bryant now for 20 years. I'm chairman of the planning commission, very blessed to be that, but also the representative of the planning commission for the street department and some certain other areas. And I think we have a great park system. I'm not against what they're wanting to do, but being on the planning commission and street committee, I see more problems with connectivity than anything else we have. Brenda, we opened Chief Avenue last week, and what was your
Love it.
and what was your comment?
I love it. I love to drive down it, but it just doesn't connect on over to Prickett.
That's correct.
And that's what everybody has said. I love driving on it, but it doesn't.
Even
go
though
on.
you have some people who say, why do you put a bike lane to nowhere? Because they're not looking down the road, they're looking right here. And my concern is, I found this about basically through Facebook, that y'all's having a special meeting. So to me, it kind of smells like a hog, it looks like a hog, it is a hog. Because if the commission, what the gentleman's saying, and Mr. Glenn was right on some of his points, I understand, but if the commission doesn't even understand what's going on, how are you gonna have 100% backing of what's going on? Steve, he said, the vote speaks for itself. And you're gonna spend this much money on a park, and we can't get Boone Road approved, we can't get Spring Hill approved, we can't get Echo Lake North approved? We got some problems here. And if you look at the surveys, the number one problem we have in Bryant is connectivity. Parks is number one as the best. Connectivity would be the lowest. So if I had a position that something was defeated like it was, with the percentage flipped, and there was information on the Facebook that was not correct, social media, which is part of the world now, but you get information out there from so many different people and nobody knows what the truth is. Of course, everybody believes the internet's true. Everything you see on the internet's true. Everything you see on TV is true. Everything in the paper is true. But I think what we have to consider as a planning commission is we're trying to make it a way we can get around this town. And Boone Road is our south connection to get around this town. There ain't no doubt about it, guys. You can't use Wilkerson, we can't use Boxhead Highway, whatever, 183, whatever, but Boone Road is very important. And what Monty and them had proposed on Boone Road was a legitimate option. And I think the parks have done a great job of what they had to work with. We've had some issues when Bishop Park first opened up. We've had some issues because what they wanted to do was not available financially. And I guess that's what we all deal with, right? We think we can have enough money, but when it comes to the end of it, hey, I gotta cut this out, or I gotta cut that out. But I just want y'all to speak from your heart and vote from your heart that what's the best for the citizens. Thank you.
Jim, you as planning commission chair, were you knowledgeable of anything that was going to be presented to go on the ballot this month in your meeting?
We had a meeting last week, second Monday of the month. This was never mentioned.
Okay.
I never heard a word about this until I saw it on Facebook about the city of Bryant posted it. Whoever posted the city of Bryant. Yeah, I didn't hear it. It just doesn't smell good, guys. You know, I don't know what the background is, and if it's a political deal, whatever, but when you have a special meeting, I take the courier every day. I didn't even see it in the courier. I hadn't seen it today.
Well, I'll just tell you that for special meetings, I mean, we follow procedure, state law. I mean, you have to give a 48-hour notice to the media, which we did. We published our agenda on the website. We notified all of the media. And
When did you publish on the website? I looked at it what's the date? Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday? I looked at it Tuesday. I didn't see it on the media, on the website. I looked for the agenda in July 28th was the only agenda that was on there.
Well, it was sent, I believe it was published on Tuesday night, but the law requires that we send notification to the media 48 hours in advance with the agenda item on there. So that email went out to all the media. And
As I said.
we notified the best we could.
I understand, but it smells like a pig, it looks like a pig, it is a
And
pig.
also the procedure for calling a special meeting, it has to be either called by the mayor or 3 or more aldermen.
And who called this meeting?
3 or more aldermen call the meeting.
Rob, okay, Brenda, that's 2. Wait, 3.
And Mike was the other one, he's out.
Mike Chandler.
Not check, okay.
And Scott.
Well, they called a special meeting, they're not here? Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, thank you for your service on planning.
Hey,
Mr.
enjoy it, man.
Lynn, you can come up for a couple more minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
address a little bit of that. One, I'd like to see what they base this 10-year hands tied comment on. It makes it sound like we're not gonna build any streets in the next 10 years unless we pass this Boone Road thing. That's ridiculous. It's not gonna tie your hands for 10 years. First of all, even with the additional $6.5 million, this thing will pay off in about 8. Then you could go to the voters and ask them to change the half cent over to streets. But these are park bonds. Okay, now, before we went along with it, it didn't pass. I'm for Boone Road too, but how about this idea? 2010, the council took the franchise fees, pledged $2 million in order to finish the park. Anybody recall that? Why don't we pay that $2 million off with this park deal? Free up $2 million worth of franchise fees for you, and you can do some street work with it, along with other monies that you'll have coming in over the next 10 years to make street improvements. So, something to think about. It would add a third question, but we can use $2 million of this to pay that off. But the parks deal will be done in about 8 years with no, am I correct? Even if we added the $6.5 million to it, in about 8 years it's done. That time, maybe the citizens won't change that half cent over to streets, I don't know. But anyways, that's my comment. I refute the 10-year hands cuffed comment. And also, I would like to say this. We haven't been slipping around doing anything. I don't recall ever going to the planning commission before. I never did, matter of fact. But it's all been public hearings. I've been to the Parks Committee, I don't know how many times, in front of this council, I don't know how many times. Government likes to talk about transparency. It's a joke. Ours isn't. We've been very transparent all along, with the exception of the last few days, and only because the 70-day clock was running out. It's the only reason why. We're not trying to slip something through here. Just keep in mind, if y'all decide not to go on the ballot, y'all made the decision for the voters. They don't even get a chance to vote. You know, these people can object to all of this. You let it go to the ballot, they can object to all of it over the next 70 days. Let the voters decide.
Any other public comments? Mr. Billy?
Carlton Billingsley, 1509 Woodland Park Road. Thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do in your infinite wisdom to lead our city. I appreciate your service, as I know it takes a lot of time and I know it takes a lot of sacrifice from your families. I'm coming to you tonight simply because I'm concerned with what's happened over the last few days. You're exactly right. There's only 74 days left before the vote happens on November the 4th. 74 days is not enough time to get out the information. If this is truly important, then this should have been planned starting back in June. 4 months and 1 day ago, the public said no. When they said no, we should respect their opinions. You want to put together a plan? Put the plan together that's excellent. I believe in our parks. My kids play in those parks. I'm a huge supporter of those parks. I use those parks. I want the best parks that any city in this state and country could have. But I want it done in a way that's excellent for the citizens. And I think that's what we all want. You can't cram something down their throat 4 months and 1 day ago that they said no to. What's changed on the plan? What are we going to do different? What have we done to sell this thing now? What all of a sudden has changed? If it has to be May of 2016, I don't want to see it that long. But let it be with the plan, goes out in front of the people, and don't let it be a 50-50 vote. You're not going to get 100% of the vote, but I think we should have 80%, 75%. Put something together that the citizens can sink their teeth into and don't feel like they just got slapped in the face because they said no and you want to put it back on the ballot 74 days from now. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the parks. I know they do a good job. Derek, you and your team. The committee, I appreciate their time for discussing this issue. And I'd like to see the Parks Committee, the Planning Commission, as I am a member of that, and I'm thankful for that, We need better communication within our committees and with our commission. And then when we bring the plan before you, you know that you have 100% support of these commissions and these committees. I don't think anybody on the committee or commission gives up their time just to be doing something. And so when we have a recommendation to bring before you, I hope it's taken with seriousness. And I hope it's taken with an approach of this is what the committee or commission has feel is best for the city of Bryant. And I would like to see that work better. I would like to see the commission and the Parks Committee and everyone as a subcommittee of the city of Bryant work together. And I think we could have a much better perception as to what is going on. I teach a lot of sales. You gotta keep it simple, stupid. This is not simple, stupid. I'm confused. Miss Smith is confused. Most of the people in this room, I would suggest, are probably confused. Let's make it simple. Let's see what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay, we will move right into new business. and-
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.